My name's Elizabeth McGhee, and we're going to be doing an art project based off Over and Under the Snow. So I thought we would make a nice little snow scene. So we're going to go through some steps of all of the different components, and all you're going to need are some crayons, construction paper, scissors, glue, can be a glue stick or regular glue, it doesn't really matter. Markers, any kind will do. And you can use watercolors if you want. I'm not going to be using any today, but just you can use anything pretty much to make art. First, I'm going to show you about symmetry. So symmetry is when two things are the same on both sides, or technically more like a mirror image. So like trees that are the same on both sides, or circles are the same on both sides. So I'm going to show you a little trick for how to make something symmetrical, like a tree. So you can just start off with any piece of paper, and I'm just going to start off with something like that and fold it in half. So you want to make sure that you have your fold on the inside part of the tree, and then you can draw the outline of what you want half the tree to be. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's a tree and every tree is different. And then you'll just cut it out. Okay. Then when you cut it out, you have this little half a tree. But when you unfold it, it's now the same on both sides. So you can change how the tree looks by the shape that you cut into the sides. But the same trick can also be used for leaves too. So you'll notice in the illustrations of the book that there are a lot of leaves in there. So same thing, fold in half, fold on this side. And then when you open it up, you got yourself a leaf. The next thing is there's going to be a lot of trees. So to just draw the tree trunks, you can use different colors of brown, you can use black, you can have whatever color trees that you want to have. Let's see, I'll use a darker pen so you can see it better. So you want it to go wider at the base where the roots will be. But most trees in the forest are straight up and down. So we're just going to make a few trees. You can use that same trick that I showed you before with the stencils, that you can make trees that are similar if you want to save a little bit of time. So now you got a tree trunk, and there's different ways of doing texture, as you'll see on the sample board. You can use white crayon, black marker, brown marker, and crayon. So there's no wrong way to do it. You can even do watercolor. So I'm just going to add a little bit of texture on this guy just so it won't look like flat paper. And I'm going to do bark that's up and down because some bark is side to side. It just depends on the species of tree, but I think this one I'm going to do up and down. Okay, so it's got a nice little tree there. Maybe we'll do another one too. And we'll do the trace technique. This one I'll do white. But you'll notice even in the illustrations of the book that they're not really going for perfection. It's almost more of a stylized view of the snow. So don't worry about making anything in your picture perfect, because it doesn't need to be. And nature is very rarely perfect, so it'll actually look kind of weird if it's perfectly straight or perfectly symmetrical. So a little bit off is not a bad thing. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a color for the background, because something that happens, snow doesn't have a color, it reflects colors around it. So if you have a blue sky scene, the blue sky makes blue shadows on the snow. You'll see that a lot in like cartoons where they simplify things. There's always blue shadows on snow. However, if it's a very dark night scene, you might have black or gray shadows in the snow. If it is dusk and dark blue, again, you'll have blue shadows. But if it's like a pink sunrise or sunset, you'll actually have pink shadows in the snow. So it's interesting how it changes. So if you have your construction paper and you're going to be picking some colors to do, just keep that in mind, that it'll actually change the color of the snow, and you'll also have a different feel on the artwork depending on which. Oh, where'd it go? Okay. So got some white for snow, and I'm gonna go with light blue for the sky, just because. So you don't have to use the full sheet if you don't want. I'm probably just going to do a little half sheet, and then I'll have blue paper for later too. Right, so once you have your blue background, you'll want to have some snow shapes. So pretty much half of the blue paper is the same as the half of the white. So I'm just going to cut out some little lumpy bumps of snow. So just kind of a wavy line. So you can kind of line it up with the bottom and everything. So again, you can use glue stick or regular glue. I like glue stick because it goes on flat. You don't get the little lumpy bumps from the wet glue. And make sure you get to all the edges. Cap back on. All right, so now we got some trees. They don't have to be as tall as, you cut them. You can decide where you kind of want them to be, and then just cut off the extra bits that you don't need. So I guess right there. Let's see, we don't want this tree to be lonely. This is where composition starts to play in. If I put the tree over here, it'll look almost like a stage, because actually this is also symmetry where they're on the same side of the paper. So I kind of like off symmetry, so maybe I will make this tree over here and have an open space instead. I'm going to use this for the back so I don't get glue all over my table. And just wherever I want to put it. Right there is good. Maybe a little extra glue. Now, something that also happens with perspective, so like when things are further away, you'll notice that they're small. And also another thing that happens, like when you look at mountains, mountains aren't purple or blue, but when you look at them really far away, what's happening is there's stuff in the air, and it's actually making the light bounce. So it's a thing called atmospheric perspective, and that's what makes mountains look light blue or purple when they're really far away and not brown or green or whatever color they actually are. So what I'm going to do is trees are not blue generally, but I'm gonna add some trees in the far distance. And so a thing, again, that happens similar to snow is when you have blue sky, things tend to take on a slightly blue tint as they go further away. So I got a blue crayon here, and I'm just gonna draw in a simple little triangle here for the top of a faraway tree. And this is gonna be like a pine tree, like a tree like this one. And I'm gonna then do the next little layer. So it's almost like a series of triangles, and as they build up, they make trees. And so that kind of helps to start to make a tree look really far away. You can also add different types of trees. So like if you want to have a tree that doesn't have any leaves, again, you can use the blue to draw. So you're doing this instead of black, just because it's really far away. And then another tree over here too. Maybe we'll have a whole forest over here. Why not? And the trees will take on different colors depending on what the color of the sky is. So again, you'll see in here at night, the trees might show up as white, or again at sunrise or sunset, take on a little pinkish color. So same thing, shadows are gonna be blue. So let's give some shadows to these trees. So again, I'm still keeping with my blue crayon. Again, you can use watercolor if you want. Okay, so next we'll focus on drawing some things for our winter scene. So just like how we started out with the snowman, that's how we're gonna start drawing most of the animals or the people that could be in our scene. You have three basic shapes, just little circles. So you got the head, you got the chest, and you got the abdomen. So you can use those same shapes, just kind of moving them to do a bee. So you'll remember in the book, there's the sleeping bee. So I'll do the stripes for the abdomen. Just simple. And each of these things you can elaborate on and make even more and more complicated. Some antennae, do the eyes, and they got bigger back legs. And smaller little front legs. And some wings. So simple little bee. Then we have the, there's like different moles and different animals sleeping under the hill. So we're going to use the same thing for a sleeping animal. So head, chest, abdomen. But let's give them a little snout. Maybe some little sleeping eyes. Maybe we'll give them some big ears for like a mouse. Little paws, maybe under his face. Little nose. There's his back legs. And then maybe a little swishy tail. So it's the same shape, but very different animal. And you can use the same thing for also the skier. But the skier, because it's standing up more like a snowman, will do a standing up. So I like to start with the head. Then I like to always do the backbone, just so that I know what direction they're going. Sometimes artists will call that the action line. And then I'll do the torso and the abdomen, or AKA our hips. Next, I'll do the leg, and it'll come off from the abdomen, go all the way to the knee, bend the knee because the person's skiing, upper leg, lower leg. So I'm just doing little boxes now. And the foot I always like to show is like a little triangle, almost like a door stop. There's your skis. Another little rectangle for the top of the arm. They'll have bent elbows, lower arm, hand, and then we'll add the ski pole. Now, right now it's very simple human, so maybe let's add a hat and maybe a scarf. We'll have the scarf flying behind them. Maybe a jacket also kind of flying behind them. And then once we have it to this stage, we can actually use a pen to kind of make our little building lines not pop out as much, because it starts getting really confusing. So a lot of cartoonists and animators will do it this way too. So maybe we'll add an eye. There's our little hat. Make our scarf go back. Well, maybe we'll give it a little fringe. And again, don't worry about drawing all the fingers, because at this scale, it's too small. Maybe I'll give her a little bit of hair. Maybe we'll make her hair go back too. And there are her boots. And her little pole. And so there you have kind of like a simplified little skier. So that way you can add them into your little scene. And you can practice a lot before you start drawing right on here, because I've done that where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then I don't like it, and then it's like, I did all this work on the background. So I'll practice a lot on scrap paper. Another good thing to do too is, like, let's say you do a drawing of a little skier and you think it's perfect. You can actually use tracing paper to trace your drawing and then transfer it onto the image. And there are also all sorts of books, like you can buy, get books for how to draw and everything. And so those will really help you with learning new ways. But I'm going to be bold and I'm going to draw right on here. When you do draw, you want to be careful that you're not pressing too hard, because if you don't like something and you want to erase it, you're gonna run into a little bit of trouble if you press too hard, because it can indent the paper. All right, so saved some time, drew the little girl in here, so maybe I'll give her a red hat. So I'm gonna color her first before I do the line work. Maybe she'll have a red scarf too. Let's just go full red. I like red, so let's give her a red. Nah, you know what? A red scarf is fine. Maybe we'll give her a green coat. And maybe blue pants. See, I made a boo-boo there on her boots, so I just decided to give her black boots, and then there's no more boo-boo. Now, also, snow's not clean. There's all kinds of stuff all over it, little twigs and all kinds of stuff, so poking out. So maybe we'll add some dead grass. Now if we want to have like a little sleeping animal, maybe under the hill, again I'll use the blue. We'll make it underneath the skier maybe. So we'll make it look like we're looking underneath the snow. And I think I'll do a little bee. Head, torso, abdomen, eyes, big leg, little legs, antenna, and wings. Yellow bee. And it'll be kind of dark under the snow, so we do want to have more of that blue, because that's our shadow color. Maybe I'll add another tree over here too, now that I'm thinking about it. Because you can always change it. So that's just kind of your basic little snow scene, and you can always change it. You can mess with the colors, mess with the textures, add different animals, but this will, just be a nice little scene, so you can do anything with this kind of template.